Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for your week 11 buy lows. Let's go and win some leagues. G'day, guys. I'm D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible here on the Believe in Fantasy Basketball Network. What a Christmas it's been. I've put on about 20 pounds, as you could probably tell, but that should not distract you from the fact that we have all this value still on the table. Let's go and smash some week 11 buy lows. All right, let's get into the buy lows for week 11. We're at the end of week 10, but let's get you prepared for week 11 and beyond that as well. So we're obviously looking at guys that we think are underperforming at the moment, either in the last couple of weeks or throughout the entire season, which I believe they can turn things around very quickly and get you value to go and help you win your championship. So let's get into it. Firstly, before we do get into my top 5, let's get into the top 10 most traded players on Yahoo as of today, which is December 28th. Number 1, Myles Turner. He has been an absolute bust. Yes, he is a buy low, but I'm not so confident that he can turn things around that quickly. I can't expect, or I don't expect him to get much worse. And perhaps Giannis being alongside of him does help him, but that didn't help him yesterday. Giannis did return a little bit earlier than what we first expected, but great to see Giannis back, but that didn't help Myles Turner. I would expect Myles Turner to get better as the season progresses, but man, it is not looking good. We're not going to go through Myles Turner tonight in great detail, but number 2, Jalen Williams. We will go through Jalen Williams' recent numbers and where we believe he can turn things around very quickly to get you that value. Number 3, Julius Randle. Number 4, Ryan Rollins. Number 5, Stephon Castle. Number 6 is Trae Young, recently back from his long-term injury as well. Number 7, Pascal Siakam. Number 8, Onyeka Okongwu. He's having a tremendous season, obviously being helped by the absence of Kristaps Porzingis as well. So that's unfortunate with KP, but Onyeka Okongwu is definitely making the most of his season so far. Number 9, Jalen Brunson. And number 10, another guy that we'll go over a little bit of detail, but we did go through Paolo Banchero's numbers last week. He hasn't turned things around as of yet. We expected that to happen without Franz Wagner in the team. Franz Wagner shouldn't, I don't expect him to miss too much more time, but Paolo Banchero is putting up some disgusting numbers at the moment, particularly based on his ADP. A lot better for points league, obviously, and we know about the deficiencies in category leagues, but we won't go through too much detail on Paolo Banchero tonight, I should say. We did go through Paolo Banchero's numbers last week, so go and check out the Week 9 Buy Low show. Okay, getting to my first one, Bam Adebayo has missed the last 2 games. He's got some back soreness. I don't expect him to miss too much more time, if any more games at all. But in recent times, he has definitely underperformed. And in fact, based on his ADP, and you can see the ADP on screen for those watching on YouTube, Yahoo 32, ESPN 28, and Fantrax 28. So highly sought after, getting him in the 3rd round of drafts, of standard drafts. He hasn't returned that across the season, and he's actually been quite disgusting over the last fortnight. Look at those numbers. Across the last 2 weeks in NICAT, 247th ranked player. Small sample size, 5 games only. In the last week, it's actually been worse, 2 games as well. But the main reason for his drop in value is the shooting. It's the efficiency, the field goal percentage. Free throws haven't been great, but that's been much worse in the last fortnight as well. Everything else seems to be on point. Obviously, if he's hitting those shots from the field, he's getting more points as well. So a slight dip in points, but I expect that to be boosted very, very quickly. I hope he does return very shortly, and I do expect that. So Bam Adebayo, very easily to turn things around. It's great to see him hitting those threes. He hasn't hit it in the last 2 weeks, but he's had to cater for Kelly Ware in the front court alongside of him as well. So a bit of an adjustment for Bam Adebayo, but I do think he does improve on the last 2 weeks rankings as well. So go and buy low on Bam Adebayo. Next one, J-Dub, Jalen Williams. Now, OKC is just a tremendous team, the reigning champions, but Jalen Williams obviously started the season injured. He's come back. He's played 12 games, but in the last fortnight, he's put up some shocking numbers. So in 9cat, he's been ranked 125th. Again, shout out to #basketball for these rankings, but 125th in 9cat across the last fortnight, 137th in -1 in that same period. 64th in points leagues is actually not too bad, and not too far away from his season average so far. But in 9 cat across the season, 54th. So you can see there's been a bit of a drop in the last 2 weeks. That is 6 games worth of games. Now, again, we attribute that to his lack of efficiency. Jalen Williams is meant to be our efficiency guy. That is why he's more sought after in category leagues as opposed to points leagues. However, we're not seeing that from J-Dub at the moment. So I think he can turn those things around. Everything else seems to be on point or pretty much on par with what he was doing or what he has been doing across the course of the season. He hasn't reached the heights of last season, but of course, still really early for him as well. So he's come back from injury. Obviously, had that concern to start the season, but he's got a lot of room for improvement, and I expect that to happen fairly quickly for J-Dub. So go and buy low on J-Dub.
Before we jump back into the show, I want to give a big shout out to Fantasy Roundup, one of the most elite resources and tools for fantasy managers who are trying to dominate this season and for years to come. You know how it is. You got your waiver wire priority, but you don't want to burn it on a player that might hit and might miss. So what you do is you set your alarm clock for like 3 o'clock in the morning and you wake up before your league mates to grab that player without having to burn your waiver priority. What if I told you there was a way to do that in an automated workflow so you can actually sleep through the night? Let's jump into Fantasy Roundup and I'll show you how it works. So here we are on Fantasy Roundup. I have it connected to my ESPN account. You can also connect it to your Yahoo. As you can see here, my team is totally stacked. I got Wemby, I got Amin Thompson. This is an 8-team league, so I got tons of great players. But let's say there's somebody on the waiver wire that I actually want to grab. I click auto waiver here. Once I click auto waiver, you'll see my roster and I decide which players I would like to drop from my team. I have 2 Duns, guys who are done. I got Ryan Dunn, finished, and Chris Dunn, finished. And then you just click on the bottom here where it says select players to add. So here we are in the waiver wire free agent pool. There are a couple of players that I've been looking at, and I want to make sure I can secure them without burning my waiver priority. The first one is Matas Buzeles, who is available. And then we have Kevin Porter Jr. All I have to do now is schedule the swap. As you can see here, I have the swap scheduled for November 9th at 3 a.m. Now I just click review and confirm. I give it one last check, and after that, I click confirm swap. So no more waking up at 3 a.m. to go sneak and grab players off the waiver wire. You can let the system do it for you. And the great news, Fantasy Roundup is offering a 7-day free trial. So you can try this out yourself. If you decide that you want to keep it long-term, it's only $6 a month. You'll find more info in the pinned comment and the description below. Or just visit fsroundup.com. Check it out and start your free trial today. Your future self and your fantasy record will thank you. Now let's get back to the show.
The next one is J-Dub's teammate, Chet Holmgren. In the last 2 weeks, in 9cat, 114th ranked player, 116th in -1, and 119th in points leagues. That's a lot worse than what he's been putting up across the course of the season. Now, a lot of that you can attribute to reduced blocks, but also reduced points as well. And that comes down to his shooting once again. He's not hitting the threes that he was earlier in the season, which is impacting his overall point scoring ability. But it's the points, it's the blocks, and we know that he can get more than 2 blocks a game. We haven't seen that across the course of the season. Isaiah Hartenstein could be contributing to that as well. Hartenstein did come back from an absence himself, but I do expect Chet Holmgren to boost those block numbers, but of course boost the points as well. And I do expect a slight increase in the field goal percentage. You can see that in the last week, shooting at 42.1%, where for the course of the season, 56%. So yeah, big turnaround there. I expect that to happen fairly quickly. I'm not concerned at all. Yahoo had him ADP at 26, ESPN 39, which obviously is reflective of his points league status. Points league is, of course, guys like Chet, guys that do get those blocks are not as valuable in points leagues, but still valuable nonetheless. But a lot of room for improvement. So go and buy low on Chet Holmgren. Okay, next one is Scottie Barnes. Now, similar to Chet Holmgren and all these guys that get a lot of their fantasy value from defensive numbers, Scottie Barnes has reduced his overall ranking because of the absence of defensive numbers over the last 2 weeks. Now, look at the course of the season. He's actually outperformed his ADP. So to those that did draft him on draft day, well done. He's still an outstanding pick. But in the last 2 weeks, he has come down just a tad. And a lot of that can be attributed to the reduced steal rate, but also slight reduction in blocks as well, particularly in the last 7 days. I think he can turn things around. He's a really steady player. The field goal percentage in the last week has also been reduced as well to about 46%, where he's been roughly 50% across the course of the season. So a lot of room for improvement there. He's not hitting his threes. So, of course, the points are coming down, but everything else seems to be pretty much on par. It's the points and it's the steals that we could see an uptick, the blocks as well to a lesser degree as well. Scottie Barnes, I have full faith in. Toronto is looking actually pretty good this season, a lot better than I had given them credit for and thought they would be able to achieve this season. So well done to Scottie Barnes, but I think this is a great buy low opportunity for Scottie Barnes. And LeBron James, the king. Now, we spoke about him, and unlike the first few guys that we spoke about, it's not the last 2 weeks that we're really concerned about, but it's the entire season. We know that he started off the season injured and it was a really slow ramp up. He was on our buy low show a couple of weeks ago and he did turn things around. The reason why he's now on the buy low show once again is not because I think he can outperform what he's done the last 2 weeks, which I do believe he will. And it has been improved across the course of the season, but it's also the absence of Austin Reeves. I expect Reeves to miss probably about a month, maybe 5 weeks worth of gameplay. And I think LeBron James, as well as Luka Doncic, of course, will have tremendous high usage. And we know what happens when the king does get high usage. He's not the same player as he was at Miami, but he's still a tremendous player. Look at his points league ranks, even across the course of the season where he's been off. 37th, and it's not that far off of his ADP of Yahoo. 33 on Yahoo was his ADP. ESPN had him a little bit higher at 21, and same goes for Fantrax as well. So he hasn't come anywhere near that. And of course, the first few weeks of the season being sidelined, that ADP was always going to be too high. But for those that did have him or those that are thinking about buying low for him, great opportunity to do so right now because of the issue with Austin Reeves. He will miss some time, and therefore LeBron James's numbers are going to skyrocket. So go and buy low for the king, LeBron James. Now, let's look at some other buy lows. We're not going to go through their numbers in great detail, but just some guys that you should be targeting over the next few days. Paolo Banchero, we spoke about him last week as well. He hasn't turned things around, as we mentioned at the top of the show. I do expect him, just with his talent, to just ramp up. And yes, Franz Wagner is set to return probably within the next week or so. So you'd think that Paolo Banchero is probably going to get worse, but I just think he's got too much talent. Yes, we know about his deficiencies in 9-cat or category leagues. However, he will and he should turn things around. Huge contract. Now, that doesn't always necessarily mean he is the best player on that team, and that is arguable. You could argue that Franz is more valuable than Paolo, and I think that's a fairly good argument as well. Some may even think that Desmond Bane is a better fit for the Orlando Magic at the moment, but we're speaking about fantasy value. So I think Paolo Banchero, particularly in points leagues, but even in category leagues, is a great buy low at the moment. Myles Turner, we spoke about him in the Yahoo top 10 traded guys. Myles Turner, he's just at rock bottom at the moment. However, he's got the history behind him. He should turn things around. However, I don't think he's going to be that top 30, top 40 guy that some people were thinking he could be this season in category leagues, but he's going to be a lot better than what he has been. Next one, it's actually the next three. It's Chicago Bulls guys, and they got beaten by the Bucks, mainly Giannis, and it was reduced minutes, but there's a little controversy at the end of the game just about his dunk in the dying moments of a game that had already been settled. However, Nikola Vucevic probably put more energy into remonstrating with Giannis than he did into his actual gameplay. Having said that, I still think it is a buy low for Vucevic, but also for Coby White and Josh Giddey to a lesser effect as well. Josh Giddey has put up some good numbers across the course of the season. Coby White hasn't, but of course he started the season injured. But Josh Giddey over the last week or so has been reduced in his overall value as well. Next one is his Australian teammate in Dyson Daniels. Trae Young's come back into that fold at the Atlanta Hawks, which has probably changed the dynamic a fair bit. And Dyson Daniels has definitely been impacted. But the thing that stands out the most for Dyson Daniels is the reduced steal rate. And we know based on last season that he should have those steals. 1.3 steals across the last week is just not Dyson Daniels. So I do expect that to come up a little bit, but I don't expect the world. I don't expect him to be that top 30 type of player that he was last season. He was definitely being overdrafted in my eyes to start this season. Next one's Isaiah Hartenstein. We spoke about Chet Holmgren and his teammate Jalen Williams. So Isaiah Hartenstein's in a similar boat. I think he can improve, but he has been slightly reduced in overall capacity in the last couple of weeks. Next one's Evan Mobley. He did return from injury. He's only played a couple of games. Started off the bench, a bit like Wembanyama, but came off the bench the first 2 games. Slow ramp up. He hasn't looked good in those 2 games as well. And even before that, there were just a little bit of inconsistencies. There was a week where he was a top 10 player, and then because of a free throw shooting, it has hurt him as well. But I think his overall numbers will definitely improve as time goes on. So now is the time to strike because he is ramping up, and we know his pedigree. He's a fantastic player and expect him to bounce back very quickly. And finally, Devin Booker. It's the inconsistency from Devin Booker that is frustrating those managers that do have Devin Booker. The ADP was really high for Devin Booker coming into this season, back end of the first round or the start of the second round in drafts. We haven't seen that come back, but I do believe because the Suns are actually performing at a really high level at the moment, or a really good level right now, Devin Booker's season should improve as well. I think Jalen Green coming back will help Devin Booker just to allow Devin Booker to be more of a facilitator. Colin Gillespie's taken that role on, but I expect that Devin Booker will take that more of a facilitation role on once Jalen Green does return. So I hope that that does happen, but I still think the inconsistency is going to be very frustrating for those that do have Devin Booker. Therefore, great time to buy low. Now, we speak about some injury buy lows. Those that have watched this show before know it's really up to how you're going in your standings, but also the health of your squad as well. So if you do have a somewhat healthy team, and it's very, very rare that you have 0 injuries at all, but if you've got enough ILs or IRs, whatever your league format allows for, or you have a completely healthy roster and you want to be a little bit spicy and get ahead of the game and help you in those fantasy playoffs, here are some guys that you could target. Tyler Hero, we don't have a clear timeline on when he should be back from his toe injury. However, I don't expect it to be too long-term. People are saying we expect it to be week to week. I expect it to be day to day, to be honest. So go and buy low on Tyler Hero because we know that he does have that top 30, top 40 type of upside when he is healthy. Drew Holiday's taken a little bit longer than I thought for him to return, but I do expect him to come back fairly soon, and that will help the Portland Trailblazers. That'll really diminish the role of, not a great deal, but it will diminish the playmaking ability and role of Denny Avdia. So I think they need Drew Holiday anyway, but then Scoot Henderson is also set to return as well. But Drew Holiday should be back fairly soon. So go and buy low on Drew Holiday. Franz Wagner, we spoke about him when speaking about Paolo Banchero. I expect him back within the next week. Josh Hart in a similar vein, and Anthony Davis, I expect him to miss about a week as well. So Gafford is the pickup there, but I think if you, particularly in those that are playing in Roto, Anthony Davis is a wonderful buy low. In a head-to-head, I'm less confident about his longevity throughout the course of the season. I have 0 shares of Anthony Davis this season in redraft, in fact, in any leagues. So I've got 11 leagues, 10 redraft, 0 shares of Anthony Davis, and for good reason. However, I think the manager that has Anthony Davis is extremely frustrated, so you could get him for really dirt cheap at the moment, particularly now that he is sidelined once again. Spoke about Jalen Green when we spoke about Devin Booker. Jalen Green, I expect him to be back fairly shortly. Keegan Murray is also out for a couple of weeks, opens up some opportunity for some of the Sacramento Kings guys, but I think that Keegan Murray, this is his team. They're building around him for the future. So I expect him to come back in about a fortnight, but go and buy low on him, particularly targeting and exploiting those teams that do have a lot of injuries in their squad as well. Similar vein, Ivica Zubac, in the next fortnight, I expect him to return. Zach Edey, really disappointing. I've got those 2 guys in one of my main leagues as well. But Zach Giddey, my guy, roughly 3 weeks from now, I expect him to return. But if you can get him for cheap, I think he's going to go a long way to helping you win your championship this season. Domantas Sabonis, now he had a setback last week or about a week and a half ago. Was expecting to return in about a fortnight, and then we got the update that it was more like 4 to 5 weeks. So it's now about 4 weeks from now that he should return. We don't really know what's happening at the Kings, but we know that Domantas Sabonis is a fantastic player. And again, this is going to come down to what you are able to offer. Do not offer too high or too much for Domantas Sabonis, but this is a great buy low opportunity. And finally, we round out with Austin Reeves. He spoke about LeBron James and Luka Doncic. They're going to get some massive usage across the next month to 5 weeks. But I think Austin Reeves is going to have a significant impact and stay in how fantasy playoffs go as well. So go and get yourself some Austin Reeves. He's got that pedigree, top 20, top 30 type of upside, probably more top 20 at this stage. I think he's in store for an all-star berth, and we'll see what happens. This injury doesn't help his cause, but he was on pace for an all-star call-up. So I think Austin Reeves is a great pickup. And again, similar to many of these guys, if you have a healthy squad, go and get yourself some Austin Reeves. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Let me know what you think of those buy lows. Have I gone too high on some of these guys? And it is all about context as well. So let me know what you think. Or if you have recently acquired them, let me know what you got them for as well. I'm really interested to see and to hear about your success stories as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all things at NBA Fantasy Bible, particularly on Twitter and here on YouTube, as well as don't forget to like and subscribe to all things Believe in Fantasy. Go check out www.believeinfantasy.com as well for all things fantasy basketball. But until next time, guys, thanks very much. See ya.